You think about our church. One of the reasons that God has brought all of us together isn't because we all like the same kind of music and maybe have the same hobbies. The reason He's put all of us together is because there's someone in here and someone over there, maybe someone in this section that has a particular gifting and a particular talent that is particularly needed for God's particular purpose for this particular church. And that's why you're here. Maybe God has brought you here because there's a particular need that hasn't yet been met, and until you meet it, it won't be met. And God has a single vision and a single purpose for this church. It's to make disciples, but it takes everybody who's in this church to be a part of making that vision and that mission come to fruition. And so what would happen if we didn't do what God had called us to do? What would happen if we just began to coast? What would happen if you didn't step out and act in what it is that God's asking you to act? You say, well, I'm busy. Well, I'm nervous. Well, I'm scared. Well, I don't know if I'm gifted enough. Listen, if you've got the burden, then you need to step out and act. You're needed in what it is that we're doing as a church. So, well, what if we experience opposition? You're going to experience opposition. On the front end and the tail end of this text, you see Sanballat and Tobiah and Geshem. Basically, Jerusalem was surrounded by enemies. And they were questioning their motives, and people will question your motives. Later on, they questioned their abilities, and people will question your abilities. They gave them a hard time. They made circumstances such that it was difficult to do what God has asked them to do. And there will be times in this church where you step out to serve this church, and it will be difficult to do what God's called you to do. But you've got to step out and do it, because who won't be reached? What won't happen? What unreached people group won't be reached because we didn't do what God's called us to do? You see the significance of vision? The need, the power behind it. And it's not just our church, it's you as an individual. If you want to do something in the life of your children, you want your kids to have good character because you're shaping the future of America, you're going to meet opposition from their friends at school. You want to do something with your business, maybe you want to lead your organization, maybe you want to start a company, you're going to experience opposition from the competition or maybe a coworker. But don't stop just because you experience opposition. And why? Because not because it's all about you and your agenda. You're doing this because of verse 20. The God of heaven will make us prosper, and we, His servants, will arise and build. But you have no portion or right or claim in Jerusalem. When your vision is no longer about you, but your vision is about the glory of God and making the name of Jesus famous, then you with confidence can say, this is a kingdom project, and because this is a kingdom project, the power of the kingdom is going to be behind it, and not even the gates of hell will stop the advance of the church. And so go with confidence with your children or with your company or with that ministry or with whatever it is that God's called you to do. If you have attached it to a kingdom purpose, then move forward with optimism.